Hello, I'm Gil Zilkha. Welcome to my channel. This is my series entitled Essential Classical Music, where we look at the best recordings of the major classical music works. This video is taken from my larger video entitled Best Recordings of Orchestral Works, where I look at basically all orchestral music that is not including the symphonies or the concertos. So if you like this video, I hope you'll take the time to view that one as well. Just know that it is divided into chapters, so you don't have to watch the entire thing at one sitting. You can just very easily click on whichever work that you're curious about. So I hope you enjoy it. Now let's move to a great French composer, one of the greatest composers of all time, especially since he really brought a new musical language to classical music, and that's Debussy. Debussy went away from the sort of the classical German structure, and his music was more colorful, descriptive, impressionistic. It's kind of vague. He got a lot of criticism at the time for that. Some people looked at his music as kind of almost like kitsch. But fortunately, that was not a reputation that stuck. And he and his fellow countryman, Maurice Ravel, are both revered today for the beauty of their orchestral works. Now, for an introduction to Debussy and Ravel, for that matter, we have this wonderful recording from the Berlin Philharmonic with Herbert von Karajan, recorded in the mid-60s. Now, first of all, let me mention the sort of main works I'm going to discuss for Debussy. His two masterpieces, really, and that is the Prélude à l'après-midi d'un faune, and also the three-movement La Mer, which means the sea. Now, the Prelude is the afternoon. It's about the awakening of a fawn. Now we're not talking about a baby deer. A fawn in this context is he's like a half goat, half human mythological creature that's awakening. And he's sort of going through this mystical journey where he's visited by nymphs. So it's a very sensual piece, and Karajan and Berlin really bring out that quality of it. That's why for me, that's my first choice. That just the beauty of sound, the lusciousness, it just envelopes you and carries you into that mystical world. And then the sea is just what it says it is. It's a musical description of the sea. This also has this gorgeous sound that kind of carries you into that mystical world. There's also drama involved. With the sea can get rough sometimes. So Karajan also does that very well. Now, some people think of Karajan and Berlin for this repertoire as being a little too heavy and putting too much emphasis on the beauty of sound. I'm obviously not in that club, but an alternate recording I would recommend is from Eugene Ormandy and the Philadelphia Orchestra, which also has beautiful sound, beautiful playing, but it's maybe not as overtly luscious, perhaps. It's a little bit more straight-laced, but it definitely allows the music to speak, which is something that Ormandy did very well. And you get the great Philadelphia strings as well, who are every bit the match of the Berlin strings. This recording is from 1959. It is also a stereo recording, very good quality. And now, one more I want to recommend for that coupling is a mono recording, but fairly good sounding mono, and this comes from Guido Cantelli and the Philharmonia. This is from 1954. And Cantelli was a wonderful conductor whose life was unfortunately cut short, but his recording of the Prélude. It's very sensitive, very warm and beautiful. And then La Mer, I think, has an extra element of intensity and drama to it that really adds something as well. So if you love these pieces, despite the mono sound, I think this is one that you should check out. Now, a couple of recordings of maybe just hearing the pieces separately. This one is just, if you thought Karajan was lush, you should hear Stokowski. This is from 1957. It's a very long interpretation, and he really milks the beauty. It's the orchestra. It's just like his symphony orchestra that they recorded with the full dimensional sound, which sounds just gorgeous, just beautiful and vibrant. Don't worry about the age of the recording. This just really sounds great. And it gets the Stokowski treatment. It may sound a little bit schmaltzy, perhaps to some, but I think it's gorgeous, and it's a renowned recording for a reason. You also get in this recording you get the arrangement of Stokowski of maybe certainly Debussy's most famous short work, which is Clair de Lune, which is written for piano. Bum 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 bum. Most everyone knows that one, but this arrangement is, again, it can sound a little schmaltzy, but it's really beautiful. So highly recommended. Now, if we're talking about La Mer, one recording that we cannot forget, especially if you like to hear the really loud parts, dramatically done and with great clarity and virtuosity, we have to mention this one, Fritz Reiner and the Chicago Symphony. This was recorded in 1960, and it is one of the absolute demonstration classical recordings of all time. The RCA Living Stereo. The clarity is just incredible, the vibrancy, and I want to say, don't get me wrong. It's not like this is only about the climaxes. It's a very beautiful sounding recording. And like I said, Reiner was a conductor who was very natural, and he let his orchestra shine, and they do so here. The Chicago Symphony just plays brilliantly and beautifully, and this is a must for La Mer. Now, an older recording from the late 40s that I want to mention comes from one of the great 20th century conductors, Victor de Sabata. This is with the St. Cecilia Orchestra, recorded again in the late 40s. And it is certainly on the dim side. It's kind of distant, a little bit muddy, but actually really for the late 40s, it's not a bad recording. And De Sabata was one of the best conductors I've ever heard in terms of dramatic pacing and tension. And this is a really intense recording that's really captivating from beginning to end. He does a great job of setting the atmosphere. So even though the sound is not the best, it's still one that I think you should hear if you love La Mer. As is a recording from much further back. This is one of those pioneering recordings, a friend of the composer, Piero Coppola. This is from the early 30s. We get both the Prélude à l'après-midi d'enfant and La Mer, as well as several other works of Debussy. So Coppola was certainly an early champion of Debussy, and actually I want to hedge on that. I'm not. I know he knew Ravel. I'm not certain if he knew Debussy or not. But anyways, with Coppola, what's interesting is you're hearing the music about as close to the horse's mouth as you can get. And interestingly enough, unlike someone like, say, Karajan, it's not as lush and beautiful. It's a little bit more on the intense, dramatic side. I would say both pieces, especially La Mer. And the recording quality is actually not bad for the early 30s. So if you want to hear these works in sort of quasi-authentic versions, although certainly we don't know for sure what Debussy would have thought, but this is about as close as you can get in time. This is, by the way, with the Paris Conservatoire Orchestra, lending even more authority, you might say. It really is fascinating to hear the works played that way. So that is Debussy. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, I hope you'll also take time to click the like and subscribe buttons. And with that, I want to wish you all a great day and happy listening.